Welcome back. This is Coach Ware. Today I'm extremely excited to talk through arguably probably one of my favorite defensive drills, and not for the purpose of, like excitement, but just from the standpoint that this drill can really accomplish a lot in terms of teaching tackling technique, and then your ability to scaffold off of it is what I really like the most, and the amount of reps that you can get and the focus that you can get in terms of coaching through this drill. So I'm not going to take credit for it. When I coached at Holy Cross, our defensive coordinator, Coach Scott, and our D-line coach, or Coach Johnson, did a really good job introducing this drill. I think they got it from the Seattle Seahawks for their heads up tackling. So uh, over the years, coaching defense, we were able to just add some different dimensions to it. And, the more you do a drill, the more coaching points that you're able to introduce. And it's really nice because you can keep the terminology simple. You can break it down step by step, and then you can just progress and add different layers to it. So I'm going to kind of talk through things to look for, technique, how to run the drill, and then what you can do to add different dimensions to it. And this is one too that is anywhere from zero contact up to, low impact. And then if you choose to, you can go full impact. And for this one, for us, we didn't really do full impact on this one. We had other drills for it because this was mainly used to reinforce technique. So we'll go ahead and get started. So we always did this one going across the field. You can see there's three lines. I guess the lines kind of depend on how many coaches you may have, or players. I think the more lines you can do, the better, so you can get more reps. But you also want to make sure too that you have eyes on each group. So I think anywhere from 3 to 6 would probably be a pretty good number in terms of um, lines. This drill requires 10 yards. So these guys in the front, their first job for this part of the drill is just to be full speed uh, to the 20-yard line, and then they're going to break down and buzz. And so the breakdown and buzz part of the tackling is important. So we want to get a feet about shoulder width, maybe slightly wider once we get within the striking zone of the tackle. So what I mean by that is anytime you go to make a tackle, if you're not breaking down, a good running back's going to make you miss by juking you in some way, shape, or form. So by running up and buzzing your feet and breaking down, it gives you the ability to redirect your hips. Your hips aren't closed off, and it's an important part of the tackle. Allows you to step in either direction to then try to make a tackle. So, in terms of breaking down too, we're not like squatting to the ground. We're getting in a good athletic position, which I believe we'll watch this guy on that rep. So things that we look for, what we got to is the next guy in line is going to watch this guy in front for a false step. So when we start this drill, we don't want that back foot to go backwards to move forward. So we want him to be, I made a mistake on that. We don't want him to step back with the front foot. Okay, so we never want to move backwards to go forward. So we want to see that back foot drive forward as he's sprinting full speed. Okay, so we always look for false steps. The guy behind him is responsible for calling the false step out for the run up and buzz. A big thing too with this is you've got to encourage these guys when we do this drill that they have to be full speed. So they need to be running full go all the way up to that 20-yard line. The reason we say that is you don't want to kind of go through the drill minimal effort, because in a real life situation, in a game or practice, whatever it may be, scrimmage, if you're not running full speed, um, when you do the drill and then you do it in the game, the breaking down and buzzing your feet isn't going to be practiced very well. So it's a little bit more difficult when you're full speed to stop and kind of get your feet buzzing. The feet buzz is just active feet, so we're not like lifting up the feet, stomping in the ground, but our feet are kind of almost chopping for you old school coaches that used to just say get them chopping. So we'll watch through it here. I think they're only going 5 yards on that. Again, you can vary up how far they're going. It's solely up to you. I'll find a good one here. Okay, so they're adding a little bit extra to it, and that's fine. So we'll watch him. Want to be full? Oh no, not that one. So we'll watch him full speed, and then there's the buzz. You can see the buzz. He's going to break down right in front, and then get his feet are about shoulder width apart, and his feet are active to then redirect. Okay, step 2 in this tackling drill. So the first part was run up and buzz. And then step 2, once we break down and buzz, then we're going to step and load. So coach can dictate which foot we're stepping with. That's just simulating that if the ball carrier weren't running to the defensive left, that now the tackler is going to break down and buzz and then step and load with the left. So step and load, he's going to buzz his feet. He's going to take a 6-inch step at a 45-degree angle to their left. And then he's going to load, which means he's loading the hips. So he's going to even drop his hips a little bit more than he does on the buzz. So the loading part is allowing those hips to sink down so that when we do go to make the tackle, we're rolling the hips up and through. So I always use this coaching point as there's a reason we hang clean, power clean, is for that hip movement. And then this is where we see that hip movement utilized into football. So again, these guys are watching now for the false step on the start, and then they're going to watch for a false step when they go to step and load. So if I'm going to step and load with my left foot, I don't want to step backwards with the right first. And so again, you can do this in segments. So you can do the buzz for a couple reps. Now you do the step and load. And this important with the step and load too is that they don't want to take more than that step. So we want to just see the football player here get down under control with the buzz and then be able to step and load with the correct foot without being over top of the toes or falling forward. So we're going to watch this guy in his rep and then kind of talk through it here. So run up, he's going to buzz, he's going to step and load. So not great in terms of, his hips being low, feet are a little bit narrow, and then he's kind of pointing. We still want to keep our hips aligned in front of us. So we don't want to turn our hips off in one direction over the other in the event that the back makes a cut. Okay, so we step and load. So full speed of the buzz. Okay, we can see here we got a false step. He's stepping back first to go forward. So that would be something he corrects. And then when we break down, okay, we want to try to the best of our ability to be behind the line or whatever line we designate as where we want them to buzz at. Okay, pretty good job of getting under control. And I like the depth of his hips here. Maybe a little bit too wide with the feet, but that's stuff that can be coached up. Okay, so you got buzz, and then you got step and load. And what I like too about these drills is you keep the terminology really simple, and then you just constantly reinforce it so you essentially are beating it into their head. Okay, segment 3. So we have the run up and buzz, we have the step and load, and now we're going to throw the arms, and then we're going to drive. So I'll kind of talk through the terminology for that as we get into it. Again, um, we want to kind of do this at 10 yards. Again, you can change it up, and I think that is important to vary up the distance in terms of running 5, running 10. You can always mix that up. It's not set in stone that you have to do it 10 yards every time. Okay, so again, we're looking for false steps. We want to make sure that he's stepping with the back foot, not stepping backward to go forward. You can see he's watching pretty diligently. He's going to run up full speed. He's going to get to his buzz, so he's going to be full speed and be able to kind of come under control and get those feet active. Then we're going to step and load. Okay, so the coaches will determine which direction we're going to step and load to, and making sure that it's a 6-inch step at a 45-degree angle, sinking the hips, getting the hips ready to run up and through. In terms of the hands, you can bring the hands and load them right where the hips are, kind of like the old school terminology if you ever taught or coached offensive line on your first step, bringing your hands to your holsters. They can be slightly in front too, because we don't want that distance to be too far to travel, but then it is good to get some momentum into the tackle. So he's going to step and load. The last part is throwing and then driving for 5. So when we step and load, we are within the strike zone of the running back or the ball carrier. So we step across kind of to the midsection of that guy. So we're kind of splitting the crotch, if you will, the terminology for that. And then we're throwing. So when we throw our arms, we're not hugging. If you just do the motion on your own, when you go to tackle and you're coming wide and your palms are kind of perpendicular to the ground, you're not engaging your hips. Your hips are actually sinking back. And so we try to avoid that. We teach and coach the double uppercut. So when we go to tackle, we want those palms up toward our face and then raising up and climbing the back. So those are some, coaching points that you can talk through as you watch the tackling technique. If your guys are really struggling with that part of the drill, then you can just focus on that. So you could actually have these guys start from a loaded position and then just practice the load and throw. Okay, so again, we're double uppercutting. So once we go to step with that second foot, we're throwing our arms up through, raising them up to the sky, and we always use the terminology of climbing the back. So we want to climb the back as we do that. And then the last part with it is driving for 5. So once we make contact, we climb the back. We don't want the feet to stop. We want to run through the tackle. So what we'll have these guys do is finish 5 yards past where they buzzed and stepped, load and throw. So again, it's a great drill because you could break it down in segments. Let's say that you guys do a really good job, or your guys are really good at running up and buzzing and stepping and loading, but when they go to throw and drive for 5, it's not clicking. So you could actually start the drill, like I said, from the loaded position and then just work specifically the throwing and then driving for 5. So I like it because you can break it down. If your guys are really good and they get it, then you just run through the whole drill without ever stopping. So you can do this where we sprint up, buzz our feet, and we stop. And then they're going to step and load, and then you stop. And then you're going to throw and drive for 5, and then you're done. Or once they get this drill down, you've done it enough with repetition, you can just run through at full speed, and there's no whistle. So we did this where whistle 1, you're going to run up and buzz. Whistle 2, you're going to step and load. Whistle 3, you're going to throw and drive for 5. So again, it's whatever suits what you need best. You don't have to do it any particular way. Obviously, you want to do it in the needs of your team. So we'll watch this guy's rep here. He does a good job. We don't get a false step. So breakdown and buzz. Good job. Good step and load. We just like to see the arms right here when he goes to step with that second foot to be driving up through. So he's a little late on the drive for 5. I can see too how it can be a little bit difficult when you don't have something physical in front of you. But again, we want to correct the technique. Okay, we watch this rep over here. This is a really good job. We'll watch the feet at first. Okay, kind of a false step. Decent breakdown and buzz. He's not too narrow. Not a bad step here, but what I like is watch his hips. See how his hips are coming up and through. So when you throw those arms up, it's engaging those hips and getting you through the tackle. Okay, so that's the big point is not hugging. Okay, you could stand up in your if wherever you're at and do a hugging motion and just watch what your hips do. So once you feel your guys have a grasp of how the drill goes, you're seeing good tackling form on air. We've gone both directions with the step and load. So we want to step and load left, step and load right. You can add some landmarks here. So if your guys still don't seem ready to have some contact yet, or I just think any type of drill, especially when it comes to tackling. Start from the basics, build the confidence, and the confidence will be built when they have a grasp of the technique. So depending on what you have, if you don't have garbage cans, these can be knockdown dummies. If you don't have enough knockdown dummies, then this could literally be a kid holding a bag. And obviously, if we're going to step and load with the right foot, then we want to make sure that the person holding the bag is to the opposite side. So again, this just gives the guys now a physical landmark to see and then work the tackle technique through with again low impact. So again, you can do this in segments depending on how everybody's grasping the drill and the technique. So we could just do the run up and buzz to the landmark. You can then do the run up, buzz, step, and load. And then you could do the run up, buzz, step, load, and then throw and drive for 5. And like I said earlier in the video, you could do that by whistle. So you have 3 different whistles to decipher what part of the drill that they're on. Or once they figure it out and you feel confident in everybody doing the technique correctly, you're not seeing false steps. You're seeing full speed. You're seeing good hip depth when they're loading, and then they're doing a good job with the throwing portion, engaging the hips. Then you can just do it in one fluid motion. So it's one whistle to get you through the different segments of the drill. So again, that's what I liked it is because it allows you just to manipulate so much of it to make it fit what you need. All right, so we're going to watch this guy. We'll go through it. So now they're going to use the garbage can. So they're actually going to lift and throw the arms up through. They're going to climb the back of the garbage can, and then they're going to drive for 5. So no false step here. Decent buzz. Would like to see not just kind of like bending over the chest, but see how his kind of chest is over his thighs. We want to see a sink in the hips. So we don't want that chest to kind of rest, if you will, on the thigh board. We want that the head up. So he kind of actually dips his head a little bit too much. So it's called heads up tackling because that's the purpose of it. So if we look over to the far right side, he's better in terms of where his chest is compared to his legs. So we don't want to be bent down too much like that. We want that chest that chest pad up, so not resting over top of the thigh board. So we'll watch the next group here, and you can see that big emphasis on step, load, throw, and then drive. So climbing, double uppercut, making sure we're getting good reps. So yeah, here we go. We'll watch this cat right here. Looking for false step, no false step, good buzz, good step, load, throw, and then driving. And what I like here, watch the hips. So when he climbs up, those hips, you see how those hips are rolling through? That's why you do those Olympic lifts is you're wanting that hip drive into the tackle. Okay, so that's what we like to see is the hip drive that he gets. I'm glad that I don't see anybody hugging just because it's being coached very well. And then with this drill, obviously, we're going to do it stepping and loading with the right, stepping and loading with the left, and then breaking it down into segments is up to you. And also, how many times you go each direction is solely up to you. All right, so once you feel good about where your guys are at in terms of their technique, then we can add a physical player uh, as the person to be tackled. So they'll represent the ball carrier in this situation. So again, for this drill, if you know you're still kind of wanting to take it in segments, by all means, you can break it down 3 whistles to give you the 3 different parts. Um, Again, it's a little bit difficult when you've got a ball carrier because not everybody's speed is going to be the same. So I would just advise if you're still in that part of the drill and your confidence in the tackling technique, then keep it to a landmark or keep it to just going on air. So for this again, we're going to have the ball carriers jog at a 45-degree angle. We kind of just talked about you're going to aim for the next person in line so that we're going at an angle so we can work this tackle technique. So we'll go one side, then they'll go to the other. And then we got to a point where we felt really confident in our tackling technique. We would have the running back go straight at the tackler and then get one move and pick a side. So that's where you're going to really see the importance of how close you are when you're buzzing. So being within the strike zone to make the tackle, not closing hips off by stepping too far, turning shoulders. So it just kind of gives you a good idea where you're at in terms of your tackling technique. So again, the guy in the back's going to watch for false steps. We also too want to make sure that if the ball carriers go in this direction, which for this drill they know where to go, we don't want to see this foot cross over. So again, we want to see them nice and balanced. We want to see them step with the foot to where they're going, and we want to make sure that he's not stepping backwards to go forward. He's going to be full speed until he gets within a range where he feels he can make a tackle. So we call it the strike zone. So we'll watch that part of it. So good job not false stepping. Would like to see him a little bit more in terms of his speed, getting there quicker. And I would say he probably stepped a little too early. We'll go over here to the far side and we'll watch this rep. A little bit of a false step, a lot better in terms of full speed. And then you can see he's got his head down and he's already loaded and he's stepping wrong. So again, these are things you're looking for. That's why important to have a coach in each line. So we're going to watch this here. So like him to be a little bit more full speed up into his run up and then buzz. And then he wants to step and low. Let's see if we can get a little bit better of a rep here. All right, I like that one at the end. That's a good job. Okay, so I'd like to see him a little bit in the more athletic position at the start. He does a crossover step, but runs at an angle. He's at a good spot when he buzzes. A little too far back with the arms. Again, we don't want to load too far back. I would say keep it hip, right at the hips. If you think of a Western, old gunslinger, always used to use the term when I coached O-line to grab for your guns. A little archaic, but it's a good way to kind of think about it. So we don't want to go past the hips, even slightly in front, just so that we're not having a huge distance for those arms to travel. Okay, so he's in a good strike zone of the ball carrier. He's got his feet buzzed. He's gonna so he when he steps and loads, he should have been arms back, and then he's gonna drive through, and then you can kind of see. So what I like here is see he's hugging. He's not really climbing, and see where those hips are at. When you do when we engage the hips by throwing the arms and climbing up through, watch where his hips are compared to his. So he needs to do a better job of trying to get those palms up to the sky and not having the hips disengaged. So again, we can do this drill where the runners are going this direction, runners are going that direction, and when they're coming straight at us. And just you got to make sure that you're hammering out the technique. You could add footballs to these guys. I know as we started to get better at this drill, we would do a tackling circuit with this where we would add in uh, going for a punch strip first and then securing the tackle. So their first initial contact would be to try to punch the ball out, and then we would finish through with the tackling technique. So they would run up and buzz, and when they went to step, they're actually going to try to punch at the ball, and then they're going to throw up through the ball carrier if they weren't able to punch out on the first attempt. So a good tackling drill, I really enjoy it just because of the different dimensions of it, the ability to manipulate it to best fit what you need to practice. I got him, coach. I got him.